My name is CJ Wakefield. Been here in the Westside for about 7 months. Been married for 21 years to my wonderful wife Cherie, and we have 3 fantastic boys. My mum is white English and my dad was African American. He passed away a few years ago. I was born and raised in England, where my dad was stationed in the US Air Force, where he met my mum. I grew up in a fairly small town with very, very few black people. But my mum did a really good job in helping me and encouraging me to explore my cultural heritage from my African American family. The Washington Post wrote, for most people in America, a person's last name is a direct historical link to their ancestry. But for Americans descended from enslaved Africans, our language, our families, our names, our culture, our ethnicity was systematically erased. Therefore, the roots of our ancestry are often a mystery. I decided to piece together who my family is. So I discovered and knew that my family were enslaved by a white Wakefield family in somewhere outside of Greenville, South Carolina. The farm where my family were enslaved was called the Temple of Health Inn. So we got to the area, we couldn't really find it, and then we just started praying that God would just help us to find it. We were all ready to give up. And as we were driving away, this lady came out of her house and she waved at us, and we explained our story. And she said, "Oh, I know the Wakefield farm. It's an abandoned house next door to where I live." I got to see the Wakefield farm, the Temple of Health Inn, where my family were enslaved. In the back of the property, there were 2 slave cabins that were still there. To crouch down, look inside, and think that just over 150 years ago, my ancestors were there enslaved on that property, and I was now able to kind of return to that place. We are often a people without a past, and so we often just clutch at straws trying to piece together a broken history. My family, we did a DNA test, be matched comprehensively to one particular tribe in West Africa, in Ghana, called the Enzima people. A year after we discovered that match, I was invited to go to preach in Ghana. I thought, wow, while I'm here, I've got to go to, it's called Enzima land, which is in the western area of Ghana. Took a little minibus across rural Ghana, and while we were on this bus, I started to pray that I could get to meet someone who was from the Enzima tribe. At that moment, the bus broke down. We got off the bus while the driver tried to fix it, and there was an older gentleman standing next to me, and I told him my story. He said, "Oh, I'm Enzima." And he said, "In fact, my wife is related to the Enzima chief. This is like the king of the Enzima people." He then takes us to go to meet the chief and go into the chief's palace, and we were just so warmly welcomed. The tribal historian was there as well, and he basically told us the full history of the Enzima people, where we came from originally. As I said at the beginning, what's difficult within African American history is that we don't have our own names. The man that I met on the side of the street when the bus broke down, he gave me my Enzima name, Kabila Ayabin, and Kabila means born on a Tuesday, and Ayabin was one of the founding ancestors of the Enzima tribe. While I was there, we went to the slave castles. There's a door there that says the door of no return, and that's the door through which the slaves leave to go onto the slave ships. It was very powerful because I was able to stand at that door knowing that I was the first person to return home after hundreds of years previously being captured and sent across to the Americas. It says in Romans chapter 9 that God loved the unloved. That's what I think is so amazing about church. Our roots, that's important. But the Bible says we are to be rooted and established in love to God. What we get to celebrate and enjoy together in creating that spirit of empathy and understanding of our past, our backgrounds, our cultures, which they can then only just promote and encourage even more love within the fellowship.